What's up, everybody? What's up? Let's hope we don't have any crackle, snap, pop, and Rice Krispies tonight. What's going on, man? What's going on, everybody? So I hope everybody's getting prepped up for the food and the food thing. Oh man, when I put out that video today, y'all, that's crazy. That is just, man, this creepy ass hand behind me again. What the hell is up with this hand? What's up, Bougie? Sam Tar, happy birthday, you old fart. You old fart. You don't know where I live, so I'll call it like it is. What's up, Country Prepper 19? What's up, Rick, the remaining remnant? So, it's really interesting to me. I kind of been down this rabbit hole about the Freemasons, the Illuminati. We talked about it a couple years ago. It's really interesting, all this stuff. So I watched a documentary about the Freemasons, and that was really something. Just the signs and the symbols that are all around us, right? But so I got this interesting book, and it is called "The 101 Secrets of the Freemasons." It's the truth beyond the world's most mysterious society, and it's pretty interesting. Cost 99.95. If anybody believes that, I had, yeah. Ooh. Make sure we keep a freckles alert up in the chat tonight, okay? I'm really not in the mood for some stupidity. But I want to talk a little bit about the Freemasons. Like, there's so many different. Hey, Annie Oakley, Brandy F, what's up, everybody? There's so many mysterious things about them, right? People always are like, well, the Freemasons are the Illuminati and blah blah blah, right? But really, what happened is that the Freemasons were infiltrated by the Illuminati. And most of the people that are a Freemason are not an Illuminati. They're not. But when you look at the back of a dollar bill, there is, what is it, 32 or 33, right? Different tiers going up that pyramid. And if you put that in relation to the Freemasons, that's the same thing, right? That is how they look at everything. And so that comes into play big time in people putting those two things together, right? And the degrees of a Freemason is basically what they're talking about. But then if you go into the Freemasonry Masons and you go back in time, Then there's these connection between Skull and Bones, which was before them, the Knights of the Templar, which was before them, and they all start connecting together. Many, and I'm gonna read a little bit out of here and tell you some of the people that have been involved with the Freemasons because Freemasons is the oldest and largest fraternal organization in the world. Now, I know a guy that used to come in our channel a lot, and he got pissy because there was a big, well, the chat got in a big old fight, and I got really pissed off, and it was just a disaster zone in here one night. And so I threw both of them out because they were fighting back and forth about the Freemasons. The interesting thing was to me is that he said it time and time again that he had to choose between God and being a Freemason. And that kind of struck a nerve with me. Like, why would any fraternal organization make you choose between Freemasonry and being a Christian? There's a problem there. How many of you in the chat see and think that that is a problem? I mean, if some organization tells me you have to choose between believing in God or being in our organization, well, there's a problem there. There's some kind of something a little deeper that they don't want you to know maybe at that moment, right? But the Freemasons are one of the oldest ones in the world, and they say it's a social and educational group, and that they're well known for their philanthropy around the world, doing all these good deeds with numerous charities. I wonder how many of these charities are affiliated with the top guys of the Freemasons. See, I have a lot of questions about the Freemasons because there's something really squirrely with them, and they're so secretive. I will tell you a true story real quick before I get into some of this stuff out of this book. We lived in Alabama. We had went to an auction, and I'll never forget this. We went to this auction, and I love the old stuff. Well, there was an old Freemason book, and there was an apron. There was an apron with the sequence on it. There was a book, and there was like two or three books. Anyway, nobody bid on it. I bid on it, and I grabbed it from a little town called Chatham, Alabama, up north of Mobile. And so we were having a sale, and this lady, or I think it was a lady and a man, both, they came in and they went straight to that Freemason book, straight to that apron. What was the other item? Yeah, the little books, the apron, but there was like what do you call it that goes across your chest? A sash that went across your chest. Well, these people, as soon as it was like they knew that I had it or something. It was like when you have some creepy person walk in the room and you just feel it, right? You feel like something's off. That's how it was when these people entered our home for this indoor cell. And they went straight to that shelf, and it was like they were one went one way, one went the other way, and then they both ended up at the shelf and they wanted to buy it all. And they paid me good money for it, and they said that this stuff was not supposed to be out in public. And I had read some of it, and it was just strange to me. It was like a foreign philosophy, a foreign thing. So I really didn't really get into it. Yeah, the Eastern Star Bible also has the women's version. You're right, Rick. And yes, they do. And they have the women's and they have the men's. But it was so strange that they keyed in on that stuff, and then they were like, "Nope, this stuff can't be out in public. It's not supposed to be out in public, and we need to buy it. What do you want for it?" And I said, "What are you going to give me for it?" And we went back and forth, and I ended up selling it to them. But it always just sat uneasy with me the way they acted, the way they were both separated in the house. It was very weird to me. It was very weird. Um, I think that a lot of people wonder so much about the Freemasons. I do. I wonder about the Freemasons. I wonder about the Illuminati. I wonder how much of it is spoon fed, and I wonder how much of it is true. And so I try to go down some of the rabbit holes. I pray before I go in them, and I pray when I come out, and I always say 2247, right? Because there's some weird things. There's a lot of conspiracies about the Brotherhood, or perhaps because of them, the bond between the Freemasons has, over all the years, endured and flourished and grown. There is a big veil of secrecy, a huge veil. And everybody loves a good secret, right? Especially when you're on the receiving end of it. If you happen to don't, you're not in the know, you're not knowing what's going on, it's a little different, right? I believe, Beverly, that you're probably right. It probably does, because why would they make you choose between God and a fraternal organization, right? Um, the classic definition of Freemasonry is that a system of morality veiled, veiled in allergy and illustrated by symbols. See, I have a real huge problem with symbols. I met somebody that said they were a 32nd degree Freemason when we were in Alabama at a campground. And him and another guy started talking, and they're like, "No, yeah, nobody can be around us because you guys can't be around us right now." We were having a campfire, and he's like, "No, you can't be around us right now because we're talking about the Freemasons, and we can't talk in front of you." And I started noticing that they had a special handshake. They had special things that they would do. And, it's like, why do you have to be so secretive like that? Um, but it is a secret society. It has been for a very, very long time, right? The classic definition is, you know, that kind of rubs me wrong because they undoubtedly have a mysterious, mysterious reputation. But what they're saying Freemasonry isn't. It's not a religion. It's not a religious cult. And the members are not Satanists or Luciferians. Its rituals are not bloody oaths to the death. And it says the Brethren has no connection to the Holy Grail or to the Knights Templar of the Crusades. But when you look back and you watch some of these documentaries, it says a little different. So many people are like, well, what's the big hoopla about? What's so big about it? I think that they're a historic organization and so many people don't know about them. It's a very controversial organization, but Masons are driven by different virtues than most of us, right? Three of the most important are faith, hope, and charity, as they say. Masonic teachings of these virtues begin as a candidate's first initiation ceremony. And they do have some strange initiations where it actually, to me, I believe that it looks satanic. How many of you in the chat right now really do think that the Freemasons are probably affiliated some way with some type of satanic situation thing? Hit a one if you think the Freemasons are satanic. Um, oh me, dot dot dot. The Masons are some of the best people. Period. Well, so you don't think so, zombie? Then why do they make them choose between God and Freemasonry? There's many landmarks too of the Freemasons. Now, this is a controversial subject, but the thing is everybody's entitled to their opinion and their thoughts. And I want to, this late night club is kind of a way to open up and talk about all kinds of stuff, right? And Barb, yes, 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 yes. And many of them do. This is not just about the Freemasons tonight, it's about the symbols and the signs that are around us. And sometimes we don't even realize these special handshakes, the things that are going on. We just look and we go, oh, well, why are they doing that, right? And it is out of curiosity, and maybe that's why so many people have questions about the Freemasons. One thing I will say is that they have these symbols that are very, very highly revered to them, which is the square, the compass, the plumb, the level, the gavel, the trowel, the gauge, and that apron that I spoke about, right? These and other symbols represent many of the scientific and artistic aspects of the trade, like geometry, mathematics, and architecture, which are all interwoven into the fabric of the Masonic teachings. How many of you have noticed, even in a small town, large town, whatever, that you have a Freemasons lodge in your town? How many of you noticed that? Hit a one if you've noticed that you have a Freemasons lodge, but you don't really see people going in and out of it. And zombie, if you are a Freemason, Um, I'm surprised because there's somebody else that I know that's a prepper that said that he, couldn't be a Christian and a Freemason, and I was surprised. So a lot of you have seen the Freemasons Lodge. Even this in the smallest town that's close to us, it only has 2,500 people, but there's a Freemasons Lodge. But I've never, ever, ever. I don't know if maybe it's not open anymore. But I've never noticed or seen anybody going in and out of that Freemasons Lodge. Have any of you seen people going in and out of it, having meetings or things like that? Um, I think that, there's a lot of interesting things behind the symbols. But, one thing that I want to say is that these symbols have been around since the beginning of time, just like the Oreo cookie that I showed the video on OTWP TV News. It does make you think about, like, why. But I want to talk about something about the Freemasons, and then we're going to get on to some other symbolism. The founding fathers. The founding fathers, they hold a special meaning to most of us. It refers to this remarkable group of men, right, that served this country as statesmen, leaders, and patriots. And their stories are fascinating. The way they achieved liberty, no matter what the cost, earned them a legendary place in American history. They signed the Declaration of Independence in the U.S. Constitution. And with 4th of July right around the corner, we talk about different things here on the Late Night Club, but it is a common misconception that all of the founding fathers were Masons. It's hardly the case. Now, I do want to say that there were several of them that were. Um, and I'm going to read some of them that actually were Freemasons. And this is a very interesting book. If anybody likes to read about stuff like this, pray about it before you get it, right? And it's called The 100 Secrets of the Freemasons. When I'm done with it, I will put it up for sale and recycle, repurpose, and get it out of the house. But let's talk about a few that were. There was many non-Masons who participated in these events, but the most famous American Mason, does anybody know who it was? Does anybody in the chat know who it was? Write his name if you know who the most famous American Mason was. You have seen a man come out of it before. Interesting. Nope, not George Washington. Nope. There's one that's more, probably, they consider him the most famous. I mean, I would consider George Washington too, but so I guess you have really three. Um, but they're saying the most famous was Benjamin Franklin. And John Hancock, who was a Mason, and so was George. And I guess most people think of George Washington, but according to the documentation and stuff, they're saying it was Benjamin Franklin. That was because he signed both documents, where some of them didn't, right? Yeah, that's a good question, Zombie. I'm going to get into some of them that were. Um, Out of a total of 95 signatures on the two documents, 22 of them were Freemasons. And see, this gives to the conspiracy often that claims that the U.S. Constitution is based on Anderson's Book of Constitutions. They also attribute the Masonic connection to individuals like Thomas Jefferson, Patrick Henry, who had never been part of the craft. So a lot of people think Thomas Jefferson and Patrick Henry were Masons, but they weren't. Another popular myth is that every one of the generals serving under George Washington during the war were Freemasons. In truth, they were only 33 Masons. Now, that's another interesting thing, is there's a lot of things based around the number 33, right? The number 33 is popular with the Illuminati. The number 33 is popular with the Freemasons. The number 33 is also on the back of our dollar bill. If you look at the back of the dollar bill of the pyramid, you will see the eye. The eye has to do with the Freemasons. If you count up each level of the pyramid, it's 33. So that's interesting to me too. A total of 56 delegates ultimately signed the Family's Declaration, and out of that, only 9 were Freemasons. And here's the 9. William Ellery, he was a member of the First Lodge of Boston in 1748. John Hancock was a Mason in the Merchants Lodge number 277 in Quebec, and then moved to the St. Andrews Lodge in Boston in 1762. Joseph Hughes was a member of Lodge number 7 in North Carolina, and William Hopper was a member of the Hanover Lodge in Massaburg, North Carolina. We also have Robert Treat Paine. He was a member of the Massachusetts Grand Lodge in 1759. If you think about it, we got Richard Stockton, George Walton, William Whipple, Benjamin Franklin. And Benjamin Franklin, something very interesting about him is he was also the Grand Master of Pennsylvania in the year 1734. Perhaps the most famous was Benjamin Franklin, as I stated, and what they're saying, because he had several Freemason lodges in his Gazette. Shortly thereafter, he became a member of St. John's Lodge. This is another thing when you go to the lodge after watching this documentary. So these guys were talking about that you have to go to the lodge, you have to mingle around, then they do the first initiation. And during that, that's when the lodge members decide if they think you'll be a good fit into their lodge. So it's not a guarantee that you're going to get accepted into their lodge, right? The majority of Benjamin Franklin's lodge gatherings were held in Philadelphia at Toon's Tavern and also in Fidel Alley Building. And it was later in 1786 the Grand Lodge of Free and Accepted Masons of Pennsylvania declared independence from the Grand Lodge and they separated from England. So there's a lot of mystery, right? One of the biggest mysteries that they talk about often is the William Morgan mystery. A lot of this is new to me because the last time I was down the Freemason rabbit hole was like 2 years ago, and I was really looking at the symbols and the 33 and how all of these things are strange, how they all like are in your face and we don't even realize it, right? Yeah. Well, yeah. And why? And yeah, and if you've ever watched that movie, if you ever watched that movie, right? Oh, zombie, that's bizarre. Somebody else come on the chat. Zombie, that's weird, man. Does that mean that they're watching this too? Oh shit. Okay, there we go. We're back up to 34. Thank God. Thank God. God come over our channel because we're talking about it, but that's weird. Zombie. Dang, that like just. But if you ever watch that movie that Elaine just talked about, Eyes Wide Shut, the rituals in there, and the rituals now that we're seeing right everywhere. We're seeing these in music. We're seeing them in movie shows. We're seeing all this stuff, right? And it's very interesting to me that you know it's right in our face, but yet people don't want to look at it as evil or Luciferian because they're like, no, they're just a musician. No, it's just a movie. They're being creative. But if you ever really think about it, over the last couple decades, the movies have gotten more and more in our face, more and more negative, more and more. Um, yeah, I would agree with you, Mr. Cheddar Pepper Prepper. Oh, here we go. He's always the tongue twister. But I would agree with you. After the things I've read, and yeah, I seen that. George, your dad was. Did he try to get you to join, or did you go to a meeting and you said, "No, this ain't for me"? Yeah. Ah, that's an interesting fact about that movie too, Mark. That's a very interesting fact. That's why I like the late night club, the new late night club. It's different, right? I think that there's some interesting things in this book. It's going to take me a lot to get through all of it, but I do want to say this. there was political and military Masons. There was a lot of them, a lot, right? And it has left this impressive legacy in the United States. It attracted a long list of very powerful men, politicians, statesmen, individuals, military men, right? So this is one thing I want to say. The following American presidents, this is what you asked, Zombie. Hey, Bushcraft, the following American presidents belong to the Masonic Order: James Monroe, James Knox Polk, James Buchanan, Andrew Johnson, James Garfield, William McKinley. Somebody keep track and tell me how many when I get done reading them. Zombie, you on it? Zombie, you on it? Here we go. I'm gonna say them from the top, Zombie, and you keep track of them so you can tell me how many. James Monroe, James Knox Polk, James Buchanan, Andrew Johnson, James Garfield, William McKinley, William Howard Taft, Warren G. Harding. Okay, that's just the ones that they have. Oh, that's not very many. That's eight. Eight. But then you got General Henry Hap Arnold. He was an American pilot, right? Who served in the U.S. Air Force. You got Omar Bradley. You got John Joseph Blackjack Pershing. You got Eddie Rickenbacker. You got Brigadier General James Doolittle. And then it goes on to the scientists and the aviators, which is really interesting. Charles Lindbergh. Charles Lindbergh was a Freemason. Dr. Charles Mayo. Mayo? Mayo Clinics. Oh, okay. Albert Abraham Mickelson. And then you have the arts and the athletes. You have Cecile DeMille, film director of The Ten Commandments and The Greatest Show on Earth. Freemason. You have Burl Ives, singer, actor. Christmas season, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, folks. You got Al Jolson, Michael Richards, Roy Rogers. Roy Rogers was a Freemason. Danny Thomas, John Wayne, Florence Zingfield. I mean, the list is long of who has been a Freemason. Yeah, yeah, they were. Not Rudolph, Beverly says. Not dang Rudolph. Yeah, I think so at first, Brandy, but then it became so secretive. And well, I don't even know if you could say at first because it was started back in I mean, what we know, what the books are showing is like the late 1600s, early 1700s. Now they're saying that they were not part of the Crusades, but then if you look back at the Crusades, a lot of the symbolism on the sashes and the aprons is very much the same as what is happening now in their uniforms and in the way they act. I seen what Mark said. It is interesting stuff. Ty Cobb, Cy Young, both Masons. Cobb was the first player ever elected to the National Baseball Hall of Fame, and he's a Freemason. Now we have the free thinkers, right? Oh, hold on. Let's not forget Roy Clark, Eddie Arnold, Nat King Cole, Mel Tillis, Freemason. Now we go on to the free thinkers like Ezra Ames, painter who created over 450 works of art. Brad Anderson. Who knows who Brad Anderson is? Quiz time. Who knows who Brad Anderson is? Do any of you? If you know who Brad Anderson is, I got a gift for the winner. Hurry, write it in the chat. Who is it? Who is Brad Anderson? Nobody knows. Brad Anderson was the comic strip writer for Marmaduke. Marmaduke. Well, at least they didn't have to give away a gift. Reverend Norman Vince Peale and Booker T. Washington. Booker T. Washington, former slave and renowned educator who founded the Tuskegee Institute in 1881, was a Freemason. The other thing that I noticed about the Freemason is the Freemason lodges are kind of still segregated. Um, After I've been looking at them, they're still kind of they're segregated. Then we get into the historical Masons. We got Captain Merrill Lewis and Second Lieutenant William Clark. Lewis and Clark were Freemasons. Interesting, right? Me and Dragonflies went to the Lewis and Clark Trail in Nebraska that overlooked the Missouri River, and they were both Freemasons. They embarked on their journey together in 1804, and they didn't stop until they reached the Pacific Ocean. Clark was the map maker of the duo, later served as governor for the Missouri Territory. Lewis, in addition to being named a national hero, became governor of the Louisiana Territory. He was also the first master of a Masonic lodge in St. Louis, Missouri. So very historical. Here's a good one for you, and you'll all know this name. Christopher Carson. Anybody know? Christopher Carson. You might know him better by the name of Kit Carson. Christopher Kit Carson and Davy Crockett were, in addition to being frontiersmen, part of the Brotherhood, as well as William Buffalo Bill Cody. Along with that, Dr. Parker Paul Mackenzie was a Kiowa Indian and a Freemason. It's very interesting when you think about these people and you think about how they influenced the world around them and that they were Freemasons. So when we think about it, you know, Paul Revere, so many, right? So many. Francis Bellamy, the Baptist minister who in 1892 did the original Pledge of Allegiance. Francis Bellamy. Stephen F. Austin, the father of Texas. The city of Austin is named in his honor. Stephen F. Austin. Rufus Easton, the first postmaster west of the Mississippi. So we have to come to this conclusion, at least this much tonight, about the Freemasons, is that many of the men that belonged to the Freemasons were very influential in the historical of the United States of America that invented many, many things in the United States. The religious aspect of this craft can be very confusing. Writings about the Brotherhood often mention their own Bible. Masons meet in temples, and many of their symbols have historically religious, and some of their titles contain words like priest and worshipful. It's easy to see why misunderstandings occur, as they say, according to the 101 Secrets. It is, in fact, a title of honor, much like one would address the mayor of a city. There's also a lot of elements that analyze and go into regard to their religion, or so-called religion. For starters, the organization has no dogma or central theology, and members are free to practice any religion to which they subscribe. But it brings me back to, why did someone that is a prepper that has a channel on YouTube say out loud that he either had to choose the Freemasons or his religion? Or was that his personal take on it, and maybe he found out something he didn't like? But then on the other hand, and I will not call this person out because I think they said something very contradicting, right? They also stated that they were a 32nd degree Freemason, but yet he gave up the Freemasons because of his religion. And so that to me kind of drew a red flag. So I no longer participate or go to this person's channel. And at one time, this person was on my channel more than once. So that's an interesting thing to think about, what he told on his channel, what he told to me. And if anybody knows who got in a fight in the chat one night, you'll know exactly who I'm talking about. That was about, what, 2 years ago when that fight happened in the chat. But your grandfather was a Freemason, a lodge master, and your grandmother was the Eastern Star. So, Zombie, I have to ask you, did you become a Freemason? And if you did, this book is written by a Freemason, and knights and presidents, scientists and captains of industries, artists and entertainers have all been Freemasons. So, like I said, we have to come to this one conclusion, if anything, tonight, because there is a lot of controversy around the Freemasons, is that they were very influential in the United States of America. You were a Job's daughter. And I think that has to do with going to be an Eastern Star, correct, Leia? I think it does. Yeah, you're not. Yeah, Daniel Boone was. He was. But there's so much to read about the Freemasons. But I want to bring up one thing that I think is very interesting, because there's a lot of links to ancient mysteries behind the Freemasons. So I want to read this to you. Freemasonry has long been associated with the ancient mysteries and the ancient cults, though there is no proven link to any of the ancient mysteries. It is popular and intriguing subject for historians, experts, and of course, conspiracy mongers. Where do we fall in? Somebody tell me, where do we fall in? I'm just, I get curious about things and I like to bring them to the channel. I think it's something different. And fact or fiction, I don't know. I don't know. And it takes a lot to go down these rabbit holes and come out going, okay, I mean, I've come to a few realizations, but let's talk about this. There's theories of linked associations that have been speculated that run the gamut, including paganism, cannibalism, Kabbalism. There is no doubt that the study of these religions is fascinating, and many thoughtful cases have been presented in regard to their possible connection to Freemasonry. One of the more intriguing of the mysteries is in regard to the Brotherhood is Mithraism. From the 1st through the 4th century BC, there was one dominant religion of the European continent, a mystery cult called Mithraism. For over 2 centuries, this religion proved to be a powerful rival to Christianity. Mithras was known throughout Europe and Asia by many names, but he is commonly known as the Persian god, right? Persian god of light and truth, who is often associated with the sun. According to legend, Mithra came down to earth to gather his followers into an army. In a cave, he engaged in a battle against a fierce bull that took the physical form of the spirit of all evil. After defeating the bull, Mithras returned to the heavens to judge the dead and lead the righteous. In Mithric art, he is typically showing setting atop a bull, a knife in hand, and often with other animals around him. So that's a very interesting mystery. It was an exclusive religion replaced with symbolism ritual and rich ties to the astronomy world. Ironically, the Christians of the day equated Mithraism with their own doctrines and having judged them to be similar. To dust that Mithraism was a religion created by Satan for the purpose of leading souls astray. So hated were the Mithrics by the Christians that when the Christians finally overpowered the cult, they annihilated everything associated with the religion. In fact, rebuilding on their destroyed shrines. Only a few underground shrines survived and still exist to this day in Europe. Symbolism was of great importance to the Mithrics, as they never recorded in writing any of their secrets or rituals. Freemasonry shares many of these common symbols: the sun, moon, stars, globes, and a ladder with 7 rungs, much like the 7 runged ladder used in craft rituals that symbolizes the ascent of a candidate to higher degrees. So, whew, we, my folks, that that's there's a lot. There's a lot in there. Um, uh, what Tamara do? I mean, there is a lot to talk about it in regarding the Freemasons, regarding all of that. Oh, your internet. All right, get Tamara and her internet. Our internet works better at night, and hers sucks. It's really interesting, that it is deep. And Elaine, like sometimes, I like to research stuff. I like to read about historical things. But the thing that is very interesting to me is that when you take the Illuminati, you take the Freemasons, you take the Crusades, the Knights of Templar, you take all these different things and you put them together. It's very interesting to me that so much of the symbolism is the same. And as we look around and our kids are growing up in a different world, right? Our little grandbabies and our nieces and nephews, maybe some of you have small children. Many of these symbolisms are now in movies and cartoons and right in front of our face. There's a wonderful, wonderful book if you're interested in The Secret America. And we're going to be this month kind of talking about different things about Secret America. Um, I love to read, but I think that, I did that special also on the skull and bones that got destroyed over and off the wall. And the skull and bones was at Yale University. And that was another one, that's still around. And I think that, the more that we look at them, the more eye-opening the world becomes, because you start noticing and you start seeing all these things around you that you just kind of took for granted that it wasn't nothing, right? And Mark, I'm going to talk about that a minute. Interesting thing that I learned when I was working at the drive-in as a teenager, right? So during the late 60s and early 70s, they actually did the subliminal at the theaters and movies. That was a big, huge thing, going to the drive-in theater on a Friday night, everybody drinking beer out there, right? and and everybody always went to the movies on a weekend. I mean, even when I was growing up in the 80s, we always went to the movies. So me and the owner, his name was Stan. I'll never forget him. Um, Me and him were talking, and he was talking about how they were using subliminal messages because he was way deep. You think this was deep tonight? He was way, way deep. He's probably 80, 90 years old if he's still alive. So me and him are talking up in the film room, and he said, let me tell you something. He goes, let me tell you about what they did during the 60s and 70s. So it's proven. There's research studies. There's all this information out there about it. What they would do during the movie is they would had different types of soda, and they would pick a soda, and these reels would come in, and they were so fast that the machines would often cut the film, right? And he said that his dad told him about it, and so it would cut the film, and they would be watching it, and it was flashing the pictures during the intermission of Coca-Cola. And this is in the 60s and 70s. And what happened is, at the theaters, at the drive-ins, the sales skyrocketed, skyrocketed. So they actually did experiments out in public, which is very, very interesting. Yeah, very true. But I thought that was interesting because there's a lot of subliminal messages. Just like you might have noticed that I started wearing different glasses because of my job and me being on the computer more, that we are getting stuff flashed at us constantly through the computer, through the black screen, right? So these glasses have a blue layer, a light blue layer over them, and they have proven through the eye doctors that computers can actually damage your eyes really a lot. So I bought these and started wearing them to help that situation. Yes, they flash the popcorn, the Coca-Cola, and all that, but it is really interesting, Beverly. You know, the things that are right under our nose, and we don't realize it until somebody starts talking to you about. And yeah, there is. I mean, I could say stuff on here that would get me probably booted in a quick minute, like the F drip, and you know, I mean, I've seen some things. That one night, me and Dragonfly seen a video, and to this day, I cannot. I have prayed over it, and the video, I can. It was very short. It was about a minute and a half, and it was of well, one that's been in the news ship for what since he got killed, committed suicide, disappeared, whatever, right? Which was Jeffrey Epstein, and I seen a video, and I will never, ever in my life forget what I seen. You cannot unsee when you see it. There's many things in this world that we've been lied to about, and when you when you see it and you go, okay, I can never unsee that again, and it will always, um, I guess because it was so shocking, it was so freaking shocking, and we do talk about some of these things on Telegram. We will be talking about some of these things. Um, yeah, and you're right, Mark. You cannot unsee that. You cannot unsee it ever. Once you see what some of these officials, these government officials, these musicians have done to people, you will be dumbfounded to the point that you're going, God, come over me now. Come over me. Come over me because it's just it's horrible. It's horrible. And but you know, we have to go back in time too, and people might be like, "Oh, TWP, this is out there." So, throughout the history of the world, one thing that has always been around is cannibalism, and it always will be around, and it always has been around. But the thing is it's very unacceptable in today's culture. It is considered evil, which I definitely agree with. But then if you think about that alone, that's mind blowing. That's mind blowing. And yeah, Mark, be careful what you say in the chat, okay? Please, Mark. I know that you you need to come over to Telegram and Rumble. Make sure if one of my mods would please drop. Oh, she just dropped. Thanks, RR. Drop the. Could you drop the Rumble channel? I want to start next Thursday. I know I've been saying I want to do it, but I had to get a program. Huh? Oh, okay. Thank you, or um, you know, I'm glad everybody was here tonight. This was an interesting topic. A lot of times at the late night lives, we just talk about whatever. But I think this month, I'm going to put some symbolisms together, just like I did the Oreo cookie one. I'm going to do some other ones so that maybe you can wake up a little bit if you're like, it was right there in front of my face and I didn't know, right? And maybe you can protect your children, protect your grandchildren, your nieces and nephews from intaking something into their spirit that they shouldn't. And I mean, I think that's really something that we all need to think about. Yeah, yeah, it is the truth. So you know how we do it, folks, here at the OTWP. We always bring it back around center because we don't serve that kind of stuff. We talk about it because it's not good to be ignorant to it, right? I would rather know and be aware than not know, right? And I hope that you all enjoy these kind of shows. I also want to go down the conspiracy hole. So this month, in the evening, we're going to be going down the conspiracy holes. We're going to be talking about some different things. that we don't do during the day. Watch OTWP TV News. There's a lot of stuff coming out on it. Make sure that you get your long-term food, folks. And I'm not playing. I had some smart aleck on the channel come say, "Well, I'm hearing that from the military." Well, I've seen it with my own two eyes, and then I had somebody that I believe it might have been Mark or Rick, might have been Rick, got some intel about that they are the military and the government is buying up all the MREs again. Now we had this happen a couple of years ago. We're buying up all the MREs and people, all of a sudden they're disappearing. Augustin Farms couldn't get anything. You couldn't get deal right, and it happened over and over. Um, so I mean, I don't think that it's an impossible thing. I think that it, I think from what I seen it with my own eyes. Um, that it is. Oh, I lost my train of. I think it's going to happen. I think it's going to happen. Um, Hold on, I'm trying to find a song, folks, to do this video. Okay, there we go. There we go. So I attempted to put out this video last night, and it was all jinky and jacked up. And I hope the internet's doing better tonight so that it comes on better. But the thing with the long-term food is definitely going to affect each and every one of us. Get your long-term food. Be ready. God bless you all from here in the Ozarks. Happy 4th of July. Tomorrow a new video will come out, but I'm going to re-put this one out, hoping that I can manipulate the screens to make it work better than it did last night. And hopefully I won't be lagging so that you'll hear it better. I don't know. We'll see. Um, but God bless you. God bless America. And remember, folks, no matter what we talk about, we always come back around center. Happy 4th of July, everybody, and OTWP Mag. I really care about y'all. Hold on 1 minute. Let's see if we can do it or not do it. I don't know. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do something different instead. I'm just going to play this song out to all of you because this song really, since I didn't do a video today, because I was saving it for tomorrow, right? But this song kind of it's one of my mom's favorites. Foxy Mama loves this song, and I think that when you really think about this song, it really does fit how America once upon a time was. Is that all of us all were from somewhere else, and we came here for a better time and a better place. And I believe that the freedoms that we have in America, I think many people take them for granted, that we forget who we really are and what America is really about. I think that we've lost that sense of touch with our roots. I think that we've forgotten that our great granddads and our granddads were men of honor. A handshake back in those days went a long way. You didn't have to write a contract because the only thing you had was your word. And I believe that if we could get back to those days where me and Zombie could say, Zombie, I'll buy that from you for $500. And I shook his hand and I gave him $100 and he let me drive it home. And he knew that my word was good. I miss that in America. I miss people opening the door for our elders. I miss people being friendly toward each other. And I think that with everything that's going on in the world, that we all need to be the real Americans, the ones that care, the ones that have put blood, sweat, and tears into this country, the ones that have cleaned a toilet or taken out garbage or cleaned something they didn't want to. Those are Americans. And each and every one of us came from a different bloodline. There's no one that can sit here and say, well, I'm 100% American. I'm German, Hungarian, Indian, and just quite a mix. But we can't forget our great granddads and our granddads of what they did for this country. And we can't, when the time comes, step to the side. Many of us are going to have to step forward, and many of us will put our lives on the line to protect the weak, the elderly, the disabled, and to protect our motherland, the United States of America. God bless each and every one of you. If you'd like to stay for the last song, which I hope you will, this is my Foxy Mama, which is my real mom, my mom that comes in the chat. That is really my mom. She loves this song, and I don't know if she'll listen to this one, but it goes out to her, and it goes out to true Americans. It's about time, folks, that we're all going to have to stand together, shoulder to shoulder, and fight the tyrannical overreach of this government. We're all going to have to take back the America that we love and that we dream of for our kids and our grandkids.